Hello, everyone, and welcome to Technology Tuesday, hosted by Out of the Box Technology. We are excited to bring you these free webinars that feature third-party apps, tips and tricks from in and outside of QuickBooks, and hot topics that our industry is encountering. My name is Jennifer Darachuk, and I will be your moderator today. I am in business development and customer relations here at Out of the Box Technology, and I'm really excited to help bring back Technology Tuesdays. These webinars are something that Out of the Box had done regularly several years back, and then, as other things kind of came up, they fell by the wayside. And after joining Out of the Box last year, I've helped to bring these back to the forefront. So, like I said, we are excited to bring these to you and introduce you to different apps and tips and tricks and such. A little bit about Out of the Box Technology, if you're not familiar. We specialize in QuickBooks training, integration, hosting, and support. We also do bookkeeping services, and kind of outside of the QuickBooks realm, we do have a full development team that can do website design, custom app development, data migrations, and several franchise services and solutions. We have two really exciting products that we have developed: our event app, which is a custom event app that will fully cover all your needs for any event, from registration to social feeds to schedule and speakers. We can really cover it all and customize it to your needs. Additionally, is Recur 360 is our app that was one of the top 10 new apps named by Intuit last year in 2017 that we're really excited about, that offers advanced recurring payments, collections, and invoicing. So if you have any questions about any of the services or solutions that Out of the Box Technology offers, feel free to message me, or I'll shoot you an email, and we'd love to get in touch. But today we are really excited to welcome Locate Inventory. I have Jake on the line here today, and he's going to present some information and some demos on Locate and how it is today's solution for inventory management. So without further ado, Jake, I will hand things over to you and we can get started.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so I just want to introduce myself. My name is Jake Schiffelbein. I'm the implementation specialist here, and I've helped develop Locate from the ground up. Our company started about 7-8 years ago now, and we were a inventory management consultant company for small to medium businesses. Now we grew that and worked with about 3,000 different companies. So we've seen a lot of the problems in that kind of general demographic of company, as well as we really specialized in custom reports, and then my background specifically is e-commerce and e-commerce integrations, and that's a huge part of what these companies are dealing with today, and how to process the amount of orders that come in, as well as how to do accounting on those orders. So we decided to develop Locate. We started that about 3.5 years ago, and we wanted to solve some of the major pain points in the industry. One of them being cloud-based systems. Really, most cloud-based systems, especially on the small to medium business segment, there's really no offerings at all. So we wanted to hit that. We wanted to hit speed. We wanted to hit reliability. And then on the accounting side of it, how to work with QuickBooks when you're doing extremely high volumes of orders. So one of the things that we've done is we actually taken the inventory ledger out of QuickBooks and put it into our database. Our database is extremely robust, and it can handle billions of transactions. And what we'll do is every day we'll write a daily batch, a summarized batch, and submit that over to QuickBooks, almost like a POS system. So it keeps only the relevant data in QuickBooks. It makes it a lot easier to do your financials on a daily basis, as well as you can still retain all of that sales history and data out of Locate and do all of your reports out of Locate. We've pulled a lot of the reporting functionality that QuickBooks had and we've generated our own reports and our own spin on those reports within Locate, so you can still access all of that data. As far as customers that are on terms with you or wholesale customers, the invoices will get generated in Locate, and then we'll submit a summarized version of that invoice over to QuickBooks. The communication to QuickBooks is a two-way communication. So it will transmit when invoices are paid, as well as customer balances back into Locate. So it goes really full circle and makes a much better experience for these companies that are currently using our system. And it allows them to grow their business without having to worry about putting so much weight on QuickBooks. So the other thing that does enable companies to do is for companies that want to switch to QuickBooks Online, that really opens up that world for them where it wouldn't have been a possibility with the amount of transactions they do. Coming down to really one transaction per day, it makes it very easy to do that. So that's really what we sought out to do, and it's been very successful so far. I want to just kind of run through the software a little bit, what it's capable of. It's kind of a high level. Obviously, if you guys want more details, you guys can follow up with me, and I can do more of a personal demo. But starting on the sales side of things, we'll handle everything from sales, so intake of customers, creating quotes, sales orders, as well as doing all of your return orders in our system. Briefly, I'll go through kind of our customers, starting here. We do have what we'd consider a light CRM. So we'll manage all of your customers and their contacts. You can get easy lists of customers and phone lists, address lists out of Locate. All of our exports are dynamic in what you get out. We can select certain columns. You can filter for certain things on the right side, and it'll tell you exactly how many fields you're going to get and how many lines are going to be in that CSV. This gives you a lot of flexibility on getting data out without having to manipulate it after the fact. Same goes for our imports. Our imports are dynamic. You don't have to adhere to our templates or header rules or anything like that. You can simply upload a CSV, and if the header matches, it will go ahead and link it. Otherwise, you have the opportunity to map your headers to any column or any field within Locate and import that in. Again, all based on speed and getting data in and out of Locate as quick as possible. Jumping back to our customers, I'm just going to show you an example of one of our customers in here. This is our customer dashboard. It's going to give you kind of an overview of this company, the quotes that they've done with me so far, what's open, what's not, orders that are currently being processed, and a total order count that they've ever done with me, and some quick statistics on top parts that they order. Down below is your contacts. If it is a company type customer, we'll have contacts. These contacts can be linked to quotes and sales orders, so you know exactly who from the company is actually placing that order with you. And so then you can track that later on if you need to. Under the details section, this is where all of the default information for your customers reside. So default carriers, service levels, anything like that, we can store it under here, and this will pre-populate onto each sales order or quote as you're building it. Some cool features that we have, one being under shipping terms, if we specify recipients that they're going to pay for it, we can actually store UPS or FedEx account numbers under the customer record. And then every order that goes through for this customer, when you scan that order into FedEx or UPS, it can automatically switch the meter to their account, and it'll switch back once you're on to the next order. Again, time saving, it saves you money, especially if you're forgetting to do that. But there's a lot of little things like that in our system that help with the everyday processes to make it easier for you. On the right side, we have all of our accounting details. For taxes, I'm going to note that we do partner with Taxify. So anyone that does sign up for Locate will get a Taxify account, and we will go ahead and link it together. And then That way, all sales orders directly put into Locate are going to be real-time taxes based on whether the customer is taxable or not, the parts are taxable or not, and then the shipping address if it's within one of your nexuses. If you guys decide that you want to file through Taxify, it's about $20-something per filing, and they'll guarantee the accuracy of it. Otherwise, you'll be able to log into your Taxify portal and grab all of the reports for taxes out of there and then do your own filings. As far as e-commerce goes, most e-commerce generates their own taxes depending on whether you're integrated with something on the e-commerce side or you have a flat rate. What we'll do in that instance is we're going to go ahead and pull through whatever the estimated tax was from that website, and we'll set that money aside because you've already collected it. But then when you actually process the order, we'll reprocess it through Taxify so that it guarantees that you're paying the right filings when you actually submit your filings. Another thing, I mentioned that we have balances in here. One of the things that enables us to do is actually enforce credit limits. So if you do have a credit limit with a client, we can actually enforce it based on their current balance that's outstanding. And then that sales order will actually prevent you from issuing it altogether unless you take a prepayment or your manager, and you can override it with the manager permissions. For payment terms, and then invoice methods. With invoice methods, we have one global default, which can be changed, but it's by pack. So every time you guys pack up an order, it's going to go ahead and generate an invoice. And then our invoice can be automatically sent to the client upon issuance or pickup of that order. If you have different clients that have different needs for invoicing, we can come in here and edit that invoice method. So another common one is by order. So if you're going to split a order up, you're going to split ship it. We can generate a invoice. We'll create it on the first shipment that goes out, but it won't get issued until the final shipment has gone out for that order. And you'll have one invoice per order if that's what you need. Other things like monthly or daily, we can actually build statements for that day. So all sales orders for that day or for that month will generate one invoice with everything on it, and then at the end of the month or the end of the day, it'll issue it and it can automatically send it to the customer. Okay. Everything else is standard address books. We keep phone, email addresses, physical addresses with default billing and shipping on there to help pre-populate, make sales order entry faster. Internal notes for whatever you guys need. Orders tab is one great place to see everything that this customer is doing with me, everything from sales orders to return orders. We also have invoices in here as well. It's just one quick view of everything that's open for this customer or not open, closed. Documents. We integrate Locate. We have a document management system that ties to S3. And this allows you can use this however you want. A lot of clients will upload contracts. You have contracts with your customers, you can tie them here, but this applies to every single module as well. So under parts, you can do multiple images under parts. You can put CAD, schematics, manuals, anything you guys need to access within the system, you can upload it there, as well as any of the documents can be used as attachments on emails coming out of Locate. So our contacts, so this is where you'll manage your contacts. You can add them in, edit them, but you can also do this on the fly on a quote or a sales order. As far as reports go, I'll touch on that in a minute. I'll get back to that. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of flexibility in what we can do. Custom fields, everything for your purpose. If we don't have a field, you can generate a custom field. You can make it required or not. You can have different field types, text fields, date ranges, things like that. We can also put default values into those if you want to precede them with information. More flexibility in your workflow and how your company operates. Under parts, this just allows you to put in customer part numbers. If they differ from your part numbers, we'll do those translations automatically, as well as this is where you put fixed customer pricing per part. It can be maintained through CSVs. It's a little easier to maintain than actual pricing rules, but we do have very sophisticated pricing rules. We can come in with customer groups, part groups, do percent markups on costs, price discounts based on prices, and a variety of other things. It gets really, really detailed. Customer groups, mainly used for grouping customers for reporting purposes, as well as pricing rules, as I just mentioned. It's a good way to keep everything consolidated and together. It makes it easier to run the reports. Parent-child relationships. This is common in a wholesale environment, as well as retail, I guess. It allows you to link parent companies to the child companies. And so what we can do is we can actually do the invoicing. It'll invoice the parent, and then all the children can actually place their own individual orders. That way we can track and do sales reporting on all of the different stores or warehouses under that parent. And it'll keep them all linked together. Also, this enables us to do pricing rules for a parent. We can give the parent a pricing rule, and then the child will inherit that pricing rule as well as you're building sales orders. Payments, just a quick view of payments that this customer has done with me in one place. And then email templates. So one of the things I wanted to touch on is Locate's automated events. There are a ton of different automated events that can be put in place in Locate. One of those is emails. And so under emails and email templates, we can actually create different email templates for different documents or modules, and you can have multiple templates per module. And then what this section here enables you to do is, if you're going to use our automated email events, we can specify certain emails for certain documents. And that way, when we do the automation process, maybe the sales order confirmation goes to 3 different employees within that company, whereas the invoicing might go to just a CEO and the accountant from that company. And it gives you more flexibility on actually specifying where those emails are going to be sent to. Some of the other events that we have are print events. This really helps in the warehouse. And so during picking and packing processes, we can be automatically printing packing slips. We can print pick tickets automatically, as well as during the receiving process. One of the things that companies often tell me is that they don't have barcodes on any of their products, and it's too cumbersome to get the barcodes. So what we actually have done is, upon the receiving process, we can do automated print events where it'll automatically know whether you need a barcode or not based on the part. It can tell us whether you need 1 barcode per the entire receipt or per individual item, and then as you're receiving it in the warehouse, it would be printing out barcodes automatically in the receiving area. Very, very helpful, very time-saving, and it really makes barcoding more tangible for a lot of companies. Moving on, I'm going to touch on our sales order module. I'm going to skip our quoting module. Our quote module is almost identical to the sales order module. It just keeps things separated and a little more organized, as well as the quoting module has some different statuses that you can use. It'll start in a proposal status. You can move it to negotiation, and then from there you can either win it, which will auto-generate the sales order and link the 2 together, or you can lose it and it'll kind of archive it off, and you'll have that for historical records. You can also bring that back if you need to. One other thing we have is the ability to do expiration of quotes. And so if your quotes are only good for 30 days, after 30 days it would auto lose itself. And then you can go back and grab it if you need to, but it also keeps that quote module nice and clean. So jumping in the sales order module, this is our sales order kind of dashboard. It's going to show you all open sales orders, whether unissued or issued, along with the status of where they're at, so percentages of where they stand. Go through the process of creating a new sales order. When you create a new sales order, we have 2 types, standard or dropship. Dropship is if you're dropshipping an order for a different client, this will actually alias all of the reports and the shipping labels to show that it's coming from the other company and not you, something that we often get asked for. And then on customers, we can either search for existing customers or create new ones on the fly. All we need to know is the type and the name. You can also populate other information if you need to. If we select a customer, let's grab one of my existing ones. You can then say the contact from that company who's actually purchasing it, or again, you can create that contact on the fly. It'll precede all of the default information into the sales order. If you want to change it, you can at this time. Otherwise, we'll save it and it'll pop us right into the sales order module, dropping in line items for the sales order. One thing to note is for companies that do have multi-warehousing, Locate has a lot of functionality around multi-warehousing. We call them sites. And so one sales order could be fulfilled out of multiple sites if need be. The site is based on the line item and not on the order as a whole. And then we have a lot of functionality around fulfillment rules. So if you're on e-commerce, what we can do is we can specify which states should be fulfilled out of which warehouse. And then on top of that, when we go to route the order, we'll check to even see if that warehouse has the inventory to fulfill that order. If it doesn't, it'll fall back to the next best warehouse until it reaches your default warehouse, and then that's where it would reside. So that can also be done on manual sales order entry by clicking the auto-determine function here. When building out the sales order, we are going to give you real-time inventory just above the quantity here. So we can see that I'm extremely over-allocated on this part already. That's the red value here. And then the yellow value is a deconstructible value. This item is locked up in certain bundles. And if I'm willing to deconstruct those bundles, which is part of the setting up of the product, I can actually pull those parts out of there. So I have 9 available within bundles, but overall I'm oversold really by 118 units. Otherwise, if I grab just another part here, nope, it's my test instance, so it's all pretty much over allocated. However, it will tell me my available for sale quantity for that site that I'm generating this order for. So we can add that line. When you add lines onto our sales orders, if you're given permissions, you can see real-time margins based on the costing method that you're using. So I can see the exact margin on this line. That gives me more flexibility in wheeling, dealing on the price, as well as I can see a total order margin. You'll see that I have a discount of $5. That is why they differ here. Some of the other key features that we have in our sales orders, oftentimes in inventory systems, to actually hold inventory, you have to issue the order to place an allocation on it, which also releases it to the warehouse. We've added in the ability to do reservations on all lines or even individual lines with expiration dates. So if you're going to hold inventory for a company for a period of time, I can hold that. It'll put a SOC allocation on that inventory. And then if the order is not issued by that date, it'll automatically release the inventory back into your available for sale quantity. Okay. Other than that, we have all of the standard things that you would have for sales orders, discounts, fees that can be on the line level or the order level. One other thing that we've done is we do have rules behind discounts and fees, so we can automatically apply them based on certain criteria. So if I had a promotion going where if you order 5 or more of this item, I can have it automatically apply a discount to this line without having to do it every single time. All right. Moving on, a few things under the details here that I want to point out. Pass-through shipping. This is very helpful for wholesale companies or companies that are doing distribution for wholesale. This allows you to actually either place a price of shipping onto the package itself within Locate, and that'll post onto the invoice, or we'll actually pull back the data from UPS, FedEx, Indicia for USPS, and we'll push that value onto the invoice to have the customer pay for it. Another thing here, again, more or less for wholesale, is the prepayment amount. This allows you guys to collect a deposit on an order before it's actually released to the warehouse. So if I put if I wanted $500, I could put $500 here, it can issue the sales order. It'll generate an invoice and post that invoice to QuickBooks waiting for payment, but it's going to hold it back from the picking module so the warehouse doesn't fulfill it. And then once QuickBooks marks that that has been paid for, it will go ahead and automatically release that order into the picking queue, and then it can be processed. Again, time saving, and it really helps with that workflow. That way no one's constantly checking up on things they don't need to. Jumping ahead here, one of the things that we've recently added in under the notes here is the ability to do alert notes. This is very helpful for communicating things from the sales team to the warehouse. You can specify either individual actions within the warehouse that you need to notify them, or you can say across all actions. And then when you put this note in here, it will go ahead and show up automatically on their mobile device as they're fulfilling this order, so they can be notified of whatever you need them to do, whether it's putting additional samples into a box or a brochure, things like that. This is the Operations tab. The Operations tab is extremely helpful for customer service. This is going to tell you everything that's going on for the sales order. It will show you exactly which status or which state this order is currently in, who's working on it, when it was being worked on, and then if it's gone out the door, you'll show that it has been picked up, and you'll have access to all of the tracking numbers directly from here. These tracking numbers will be links. It'll link it directly to the carrier's site, so then you can immediately get a expected delivery date to your customer while they're still on the phone. And there's no searching around the system trying to figure out where this order's at. This is all real time based on the warehouse operating using our mobile devices, which I will discuss in a little bit here. For payments, there's two ways to do payments. We have on the left here, this is a manual payment. So if you take cash, money order, transfer, anything like that, if it was a prepayment that we don't integrate to, you can apply that payment to the sales order directly on the left here. Or on the right side, we have the options for taking credit card payments directly in the system. Right now, we integrate with Authorize.net, PayPal, and Stripe. And then with Authorize.net, if you put in credit card information, we can store it on the Authorize.net side using CIM. That's all PCI compliant. And then you can recall credit cards and rerun credit cards if you need to. The other option here is you can click this link and it will allow you to use a USB credit card swipe, and it'll fill out all this information for you. Once you've taken payment, it'll tell you immediately whether that credit card has gone through or not. So reports, I guess I'm going to touch on that here. So the reports, anything within one of the modules is our quick action reports. This allows you to run a report within a module and will precede that filter. So for example, this sales order number directly into the sales order report, and it allows you to run that report immediately from this module. This is how you're going to generate the PDF copy of your sales receipts. All of the reports that we have are very, very flexible in the look, the feel, the columns that we show, things like that. They all can be modified by the customer without having to call us. So for example, if we look under the display options here, this is where we can show and hide tons of different columns or data pieces in this report. Once we've actually fine-tuned this report, we can create a profile of it and then make that default profile. And then that way, every time we run it, it'll run it that way. And then as far as the headers go here, we have 4 different header types, whatever fits the logo the best or whatever the company prefers. And then that can be all set up without having to get the report customized. And from here, we can also email the report. This is how we'd send, if we're not going to do automated events, this is how we'd send a sales order confirmation email. It's going to create a PDF attachment down at the bottom here and tie it to this. And then from here, we can select a template, whatever we want to put in there. The templates themselves, you can take any of the data from the sales order or whatever module you're in, and it'll precede it directly into the body or the subject line of the email. So you can put the order number directly into the subject line if you want, and it'll build out that email for you. Once you've actually sent an email out of Locate, we're going to take a PDF copy of the body of that email, and we'll put it to the top into the Docs tab of this whatever sales order or whatever PO it was. That way you have a record of all emails that have gone out for that sales order, that purchase order, whatever it ends up being. It's a good place, again, for customer service or your sales team to monitor what's been done. Moving on, we have the ledger module here. So this is going to show you every ledger entry that this sales order had an effect on. And so if you're trying to figure out why certain things happen, you can come in here and look at our ledger module and see a breakdown of all of the ledger entries for this one specific sales order. Or you can go to the actual ledger module and see all ledger entries in one place and filter it down that way. Notifications. This allows companies to subscribe to events within the software. This is for internal notifications. So if I needed to know when the sales order was complete, or if I needed to know when a purchase order was received, I can subscribe to that event, and then it will go ahead and either email me, or I can do a ground notification directly in the software, and it'll pop up once the sales order is complete. These notifications are all through the software, and again, very helpful for time management, not having to do emails or phone calls, things like that. The other thing that we just recently added in to help companies with managing tasks and things that needed to be done are the to-dos. And so we can create to-dos now within the system, and we can assign those to specific users. And then from that dashboard screen or the home screen of Locate, you can see all of your to-dos, everything that needs to be done, and you can manage those. So from there, once the sales order is really built out, you just issue it. It's going to drop into the pick queue, and it'll be ready for the warehouse for fulfillment. One thing I want to note is Locate's ability to audit. Locate audits absolutely everything that happens within the system. It'll say exactly who's doing something, what they did. If they're changing values, it'll show previous values and what they changed it to, as well as a timestamp of exactly when that happened. That helps companies with metrics. We can do pick statistic, pack statistic reports. You can go and just audit any user and see everything they did for a day if you needed to, as well as it helps us on the customer service side. We can diagnose problems much faster because of this audit, and we can go back and see exactly what led up to something happening, and we can help the company try to avoid that in the future. Moving on, I'm not going to touch on the return orders too much. I just want to note that you can do return orders in our system. We have both RMAs as well as RTVs, a return to vendor. So if a PO was bad, you can send that back for credit. The RMAs have a bunch of different options in them. You can specify whether it's a credit, an exchange, or it's a substitution. You can also specify whether you're going to cross-ship that order or not. So if you're going to ship out the new goods before you even receive the other goods back, and we'll actually handle the financials behind that as well. We'll open an invoice, a temporary invoice, if you ship them out before you receive the other ones, and then once you receive the other goods, it'll wipe that out. As well as the substitution, if you're going to change out the product, if there's a difference in cost, you will generate the invoice for that remaining costs. Under the purchasing side of things, we have our vendors. Our vendors module is very similar to our customer module, where you can maintain them. We have the dashboards here, all of the contacts, everything else that was in there. One big difference is the parts. So very common is ordering parts from a vendor that uses a different part number than you do. This allows you to specify all of the vendor part numbers and how they relate to yours. And then we'll do that translation onto the PO that you submit to the vendor so that you don't have to work in their part numbers, just yours. But we can also store other information about the parts for this vendor. And this helps with forecasting, lead times, all of that, and really projections of when you'd expect to get items in. And then the last column here is your vendor part price. If you want to use static vendor prices, you can upload these in here through CSV, and then that'll always result back to that price. Otherwise, our POs are going to assume last cost, and that'll be the cost that goes on to the PO. As far as purchase orders go, we have our standard purchase orders where you start with a vendor and you build out a purchase order of just of all the items that you need. But we also have a very unique process for doing co-packing and outsourced manufacturing. Something that seems to be becoming more and more popular is you drop ship items from one vendor to another vendor, where the other vendor is going to co-pack it, they're going to manufacture it, they're going to do something to that product. Capturing that cost is very, very important to us, and managing that process can be extremely cumbersome, especially from spreadsheets or doing any other manual process of tracking it. So what you can do in our system is you can issue a PO to your initial vendor, and you can specify that it's going to go as the warehouse it's going to go to is your actual other vendor. So we have another site type called a vendor site, and then that site is an auto fulfillment site. So it auto receives goods, it auto fulfills goods, things like that. So you're not maintaining that site, but you do own the goods that reside in that site. So you'll issue off the initial PO, it'll submit it over to that vendor, and then from there, I can issue another PO to my co-packer, and we can actually put a bill of material directly onto the PO. You can specify which bill of material you want to put on there, and then once you've added one on, it will allow you to specify whether you're supplying that good or they're supplying that good. So if they're doing a co-packing, most likely it's your bags and then some form of service charge that we can put in the bill of material. You can specify exactly what is the cost per unit for them to do that for you. And then we have a vendor supplied output. So what part number is going to get generated based on what they're doing. So once they've told us that they're done processing that, if there's a yield, we can go and yield it on the work order, or we'll just finish it, and it's going to roll up all of the costs included in that, and it'll generate the new part number automatically, which will open a receipt in our warehouse for that inbound inventory. And then once it reaches our warehouse, like any other PO, it'll need to be reconciled so that we can get a bill out of it. We can go ahead and reconcile that PO, make sure that the actual costs on the bill match what we have, as well as we can land it based on any shipping costs or service fees, any additional fees that went into that PO. We can capture that, and then you can come up with any form of custom way of distributing it across your products so that your costing is that much more accurate. Once that PO is done, like I said, it will be, once you issue it and it's coming to your warehouse, it'll open up an inbound inventory record for the warehouse to see. And once they receive that, obviously then it's landed into your warehouse, and they can go and put it away onto the shelves. Jumping into parts, we have a number of different part types within Locate, some of them more advanced than others. Our standard part type is an inventory part. That's just a one-to-one. And then from here, we can actually do aliases. So an alias can alias any of the other parts, and then this allows you to sell it as a different name, a different number, a different price, but ultimately it links back, and when you're picking from your warehouse, you're picking that inventory item. This can be common in the automotive industry, something I see quite a bit, or if you're trying to hide your parts from your customers, you can alias them, and that allows you to do that. Capital equipment for internal purposes. We have gift cards. We won't maintain the actual gift card numbers themselves. However, this will handle the financial side of it. So if a e-commerce gift card is sold, we'll pull that through. We'll actually set that money aside into an account. And then until that gift card money is used, if we see a payment method of gift card, we'll actually pull money out of that account. And then that way it'll consume that account as it goes. The e-commerce outlet would still maintain the individual gift cards. We have bundles or kits. There's two types of bundles in our system. It's either light manufactured or not. If it's not light manufactured, you're just selling a subset of pieces that should go together, but they ship out individually. whereas a light manufactured actually needs to be assembled or put together, and it goes out as one unit, not multiple units. It's a quick way for doing assemblies without having to do bill of materials and manufacturer orders, and it can all be done on the fly as you guys are actually picking items. The reverse side of that are case packs, another very common thing I come across. And that allows you, if you order things in 6 packs or 12 packs or whatever it is, you can order the bundle as a light manufactured bundle directly from the vendor. And then as you need to consume or grab items out of one of those case packs, you can deconstruct it on the fly and it'll break it apart. You'll now have 6 of those items available at the location where the case pack resides. This will keep accurate inventory on which items are actually cases, which items are individual units, and then you can break them apart or build them up as you need to. Collections, this is very common in the clothing industry. This is a collection, so if I had a men's V-neck t-shirt, I could specify all the colors it comes in, all of the sizes it comes in. Locate will generate all the possible permutations of that, link them all together, and then you can report on that parent, or you can report on the individual children, as well as it makes it a lot easier to build the sales order. You don't need to know all of the part numbers or names. You can grab the collection, specifies the size and the color that that customer wants, and it'll break it down for you. And then the configurable, this is the most advanced part type we have. This is a custom bundle. And so this allows you guys to build custom one-off pieces. And so you can specify components and then options for those components. A good example would be a skateboard, has a deck, trucks, and wheels. And then you can say which ones are defaults. And then on the sales order itself, as you're building the sales order, it allows you to override those to the other options. And it'll change the price depending on how you set it up, all of that. Makes it a lot easier for custom one-off parts. Everything else in here is fairly straightforward for any inventory system. The only difference would be maybe our non-inventory. Our non-inventory is actually more or less the IRS term of non-inventory. And it's an item that you don't typically stock, and it gets expensed immediately upon receiving it versus as you sell it. It should only be on your books for 30 days. And it will, it still has the inventory, the tracking, that kind of thing. It's just, it's handled a little bit different on the financial side. I'm going to jump through one of our parts here real quick so you can see it. This is the parts dashboard. Again, a lot of statistics on this part without having to run reports. You can see it all in one place and an easy view. And then some of the details around this part. A lot of these are for e-commerce, and we can sync our major e-commerce integrations will sync parts over to it. And you can use these fields as you need to push the products over there. We have flexibility on hiding certain parts from different modules. So if it is raw goods versus finished goods, I can hide those from my raw goods from my sales orders and my quotes so that they're not interacting with my sales team and never accidentally get sold. Again, just permissions in general. While I'm discussing permissions, I might as well mention the user permissions in Locate are extremely granular. We precede different groups of what we think our companies are going to use, and then they can go and fine tune those groups as they see fit. So we have our actual permissions, which are actions within the software, as well as we have ACLs, action control lists, that allow you to update, read, update, write, execute, access on pretty much every single piece of Locate. So you can really fine tune how that works. So quite a bit more options here within the parts. Based on time, I'm going to keep on moving. I want to show you guys the inventory side of this. So the inventory module is broken out from the parts module, again, for permission reasons. Inventory module has much more sensitive data that not everyone should be seeing. So down below here, you'll see site valuations. These are real-time site valuations. You'll know exactly how much inventory you have on hand across all your warehouses or individual warehouses at all times. So other information over allocated parts and expiring parts. And then this can be broken down by warehouse. or I can break it out by parts across all warehouses, and I can see all of the individual parts. If I go into one of these parts, you'll see our inventory view here. This is our most common inventory view. It's going to show you all of the warehouses that you have this item, all the locations within that warehouse where those items reside, allocations. If you want to see all the orders that are allocated currently towards this, I can pull this open. It'll show you everything. So everything from work orders, POs, transfer orders, and sales orders, all in one place. And then whether it's a reservation or actual issued order, all broken out. And then on the other side here is on order, is seeing all of the purchase orders that are expected to come in, or work orders if you're manufacturing the products. If I'd specified expected delivery dates, those would all show here as well. So I know exactly when those are expected to come in. Costing, we break out costing per warehouse. It's because of the landing. As you land different goods, it's going to have different costing associated to it. So you can see across each of your warehouses. And then you'll also be able to see the costing layers that are currently open for that warehouse. Right now I have one on this one, but there could be multiple costing layers. And then as I consume those layers, it's going to drop off this list. Adjustments, so adjustments for adding inventory, adjusting inventory up and down, movement of inventory. This is more or less done through mobile applications, but if you need to, you can do it here. And then inventory scrapping, that'll hit a scraps account in QuickBooks, and then you can write it off at the end of the year if you need to. Reorder points for automated POs. You can set your reorder thresholds for a part, and then the order up to levels. And then we can actually go and generate all the POs necessary to replenish that item. It makes it a little easier on the purchasing side. And then most importantly is our activity. Again, like I said, everything is audited within Locate. That also goes for our inventory as well. So we'll audit every action of the inventory historically as long as you're on Locate. So we can see exactly the movements that were being done, the time it was being done, who was working on it, and why they were working on it. This is, again, very good for if you lose inventory and you're trying to find it. This is where I would come get and figure out who touched it last and where it may have gone. As well as if a company gets audited for any reason, we can actually go and using our reports, we can go back and say, how much inventory did I have on a given date in time, and it'll give you exactly the items, and we can tell you exactly where they were, what the value of them were, and replay all of that history. Right. I'll just touch on some of these briefly. Transfer orders, just moving inventory between warehouses. It'll manage that process, picking, packing, shipping, and then receiving on the other side. Cycle counts is very important to us. So cycle counts enable us to actually do this real time because of our mobile warehouse application. We know exactly when items are being moved around the warehouse at all times. And so what we can do is you can run a cycle count right in the middle of the business day. And as someone's counting, we know if someone's grabbing items at that same time, and then we can account for that. So it gives you a lot more flexibility around when you're doing your cycle counting, hopefully promoting companies to do it more often. The other thing with cycle counts is we have different visibility levels. It's pretty common that most people just give them a piece of paper and it has the location, the part number, and the quantity on there. However, that's not always the best way to do it because the employee, if they count 197 units when it says 198 on the paper, they might just say, oh yeah, I probably didn't count that correct. So what we do is no person submitting the count can actually just adjust the inventory. And so when they submit their counts, it goes into a manager's review queue to show all discrepancies that came about. And then it's up to a manager to take action towards what they want to do with that. Whether they want a recount or they want to count all of the locations that part resides in the warehouse, they can figure out the best route to do to take towards that without having to adjust inventory out and up. That should always be a last resort. Bill materials and work orders. This is our manufacturing processes. We can create bill of materials recipes. specifying the input goods and the output good or output goods, depending on what you're doing. And then from there, we can do a build to stock on those parts, and it'll create a work order for someone to actually go and build out all of those pieces. Or we can also do reverse bill of materials if you're gonna break things down, if you need to do that, or as well as we can do link bill of materials directly to parts, and then you can do a build to order. And so every sales order with that item on it, it's going to automatically generate a work order for you to go build that one piece, and then it'll commit that inventory directly to that sales order. Last piece of this is our use orders. This is a order type that we came up with that we felt was really necessary for most companies, and it was a missing piece for most companies. This allows you guys to actually consume inventory without having to create $0 sales orders, without adjusting it, so you have reporting on it. So this is very common for promotions. If you're doing giveaway items, what you can do is you can create a use order for it, and then we have use cases. Each use case can be mapped to a separate account in QuickBooks, so you can keep tabs on the costs of those goods. And then you can actually give those goods away at a $0 price without affecting your sales margins. That's the biggest piece of that. By doing the $0 sales orders, you're throwing off all of your sales numbers, and so it looks like you're taking a bigger hit than you really did for one reason or another. So this could be for, again, like researching or consumption, internal consumption, anything like that. That's how you would consume that inventory. The other piece of this is the ability to do checkouts, where you can actually check out inventory from the warehouse for certain reasons. Most commonly, that's done for trade shows. If you're going to bring a bunch of inventory to a trade show, you can check it out. It'll pull it out of your available for sale quantities. And then when you're done with the trade show, you can say what was consumed at the trade show, as well as what came back. You'll receive it back into the warehouse, and then they can put it away. It's very, very helpful and is becoming more and more used across all my clients. And really the last piece I want to discuss today is the operations and the warehouse. This is really where majority of the cost savings comes about, and it makes the warehouse extremely efficient, as well as the number of errors have gone down substantially from what I've seen with all my current clients. So we really promote doing mobile devices and barcoding. Locate comes with our warehouse application, Locate Warehouse, and then that operates on either Apple or Android devices. Our recommended device is actually an iPod with an Infinite Peripherals case. They're extremely fast, very inexpensive, and they just work very, very well. And so most companies that I have right now are operating using those. That allows you guys to do all of your picks, your packs, receiving, cycle counts, movement of inventory, and part information lookups, all from that device. Some of the big things where we go into time saving is on the picking side of Locate. There's a lot of flexibility in how these workflows are developed, and part of our implementation process is actually developing that workflow for that company based on what their needs are. And so depending on the company, we can do different types of picks. We can pick from orders, we can do part picks, we can pick for a customer in general, or manual allows us to actually come up with our own picking method for all of the current orders that are open. Most common is from orders, but then from an order standpoint, there's two options. You can either just do one-to-one order picks, or if your warehouse is set up properly and you're doing high volume e-commerce, it's more common to do what we call a wave pick, and that's where you combine multiple orders into one pick. And so you're going through the warehouse once, maybe grabbing 13 orders at once, versus going through the warehouse 13 different times to grab those. And what that looks like is we can select all of the orders. We can say what's fulfillable or not. I just want my fulfillable orders. I can select all three of those, and then I can create a combined pick, and it'll consolidate all the lines onto that one pick. From there, it'll show up on their mobile device. You can assign them, or you can leave the assignment blank, either way. And then from there, it'll give them a pick plan to go through the warehouse. We can generate custom pick plans and paths through the warehouse to make it most efficient. So they're going through the warehouse the best way possible. And then from there, they can go and grab an item. They'll scan it. It'll scan, confirm that it's the right item, as well as commit one to that order. The other thing you can do if you're doing a wave pick is you can scan it. And then once you've scanned it, it'll pop up with a sales order number showing that which sales order that item belongs to. And if you have totes on the cart, you can actually separate out all the different orders on that cart before you even move it over to the packing station. Again, another thing that makes it a lot more efficient. And that way you don't have a pile of things over in the packing station waiting to be packed, and someone has to basically effectively pick them again. So once the items are picked, they do go to the packing station. There's two ways to do this. You can either just pack and we'll put everything automatically into one box. It's a little bit faster. However, there's no QC process really built in for that. Our recommended way of doing that is actually to start all contents outside of a box, and then it would be required for the packer to scan items into that box. Or if you're doing multi-carton, it's a little bit faster to do it that way anyway. But that's the second QC process, that the picker did their job correct and you're putting the right items into the right boxes. Again, it's very fast, so there's no real time loss doing it that way. As you grab an item and you're putting it into the box physically, you're just scanning it once, and it's telling you that you've grabbed all the items or you didn't miss any items as you've done it. Once the pack is complete, it's now eligible for all of our shipping integrations. So we can scan a sales order number into the desktop applications, Indicia, Ship Manager, or WorldShip, and it'll pull over all of the cartons, all of their weights. It'll pull over the shipping information, and then effectively all you need to do is just click print in the shipping software to print the label. And then once that label is printed, it'll post back all of the tracking information, the costs, everything associated to that shipment back into Locate. And it's actually going to move that pack from the packing module to our pickup module, waiting for the carrier to come get it. We do have a shipping module. However, most companies are not using this. This is strictly used for a second layer of packaging. So if you're putting items into a box and then putting boxes onto pallets, we can do that, and we can track all of the individual components all the way down to where they went. That way, if something got lost or damaged, we knew exactly what the value of that pallet was. Otherwise, we can turn this off entirely, and then we don't even need to see that shipping module. It'll just go pick, pack, pick up. And then, like I said, the pickup module, this is where everything's staged, waiting for the carrier to come get it. This is showing you guys everything that's waiting to grab by the carrier, or will call. If you have will call customers, we can come in here, search for that customer, and show that it's been picked up. Otherwise, at the end of the day, by carrier, I don't have any in here right now, but I would have USPS or UPS in here. I can select all orders for that carrier and say that they were picked up. And this is the final step to get it out of the warehouse. And then that's when all the financials are written, invoices are issued, and everything is done in the system. This is the point of no return unless you do an RMA. Last two pieces here are receiving and our put away. With the receiving, we have this inbound inventory screen. So once an item comes in, again, this can be done on the mobile devices. They can pull up that PO, and then they can receive against it. We do accommodate receiving in partials. If you receive only a part of it, it'll kick it back to the screen waiting for the next shipment. Or you can also over-receive of a certain item if there was an error on the vendor's side, and then you can figure that out when you're reconciling the PO. Once an item is received, it goes into a receiving location, what we consider a put-away location, which needs to go onto the shelves. We have a put-away module that allows us to show you exactly where items need to go. It'll also show you all of the allocations for those items. So if I have items, these sales orders against these items, there's no reason for me to put them away. I know that they need to go right back out the door again, so I can move them over to my packing area, and then I can pack them up and get them right back out the door again without wasting the time putting them on the shelves. So that is the final step. There's a lot of other functions around the warehouse that we can do that make it more efficient. Pick faces where you can restock locations versus have overstock locations, things like that. But a lot of that is all determined during our implementation process, and what fits best for that company. We'll build that workflow out for them, work with them to make sure it's set up properly, and make sure that they get running straight from the get-go on day one, and feel comfortable doing it. So that's really it for me for right now. As far as the accounting side, I'm not connected to QuickBooks here, so I really can't show you guys too much on that side of the things. However, I'd be happy to set you up with a demo and show you that side of it, and we can do that on a one-off basis if you want to contact me after the fact. But I'd be happy to talk to pretty much any of you guys to help with your clients or yourselves, your companies, to keep things moving forward and go from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Jake. This was really excellent, and I definitely echo what you just said. You know, if anyone on the line or watching the recording wants to learn more, dive a little deeper, or get started, certainly reach out to Jake, and I'm sure he'll take excellent care of you. So thank you for this demo. It was really, really excellent.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take the controls back. If anyone on the line does have any questions, feel free to still chat those in. We haven't received any yet, but if you do have questions now while we have Jake on the line, go ahead and chat those over. I'm just going to mention a couple of our upcoming episodes that we have. In the next couple of months, we have our schedule posted online at outoftheboxtechnology.com/TechTuesdays. We will be doing a session on Recur 360, which is our own app. We also have Alpha 5 on the docket. The date is to be determined. And then in the coming months, we're excited to welcome Kindful, T-Sheets, and Veeam to do a presentation. So if you're interested in learning more about any of those apps, please do jump on our site and get registered. Again, these are totally free, so no pressure, no commitment or whatever. It's just to learn more, and then you have access to the presenter, and in this case, Jake is the developer. He knows all the ins and outs and everything about Locate, and so you'll be connected to the right people. So we do invite you to join, register for as many of those as you would like. And then going forward, if you do have any questions about Out of the Box, if you want to be a part of Technology Tuesday, if you have an app or a tip or trick or just something that you really want to present, reach out to me and I can see about getting you involved. So again, on behalf of everyone at Out of the Box, Jake, thank you so much for today. And we hope to see everyone back soon. And actually, a question just came in from one of our attendees. Don is asking, we use WooCommerce, and does Locate integrate with that?
Yes. Yeah, we actually just released that in our last version. So we will be able to pull in sales orders, push back tracking information, change the status, as well as keep real-time inventory on WooCommerce.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So Don, there's your answer. And you will be receiving an email in a couple of hours with a link to the recording, and I'll put Jake's contact information in there as well. So if you did want to reach out, you can do so. But again, thanks everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.